When the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide in 2015, many, for some reason, believed things were settled, with even the highest court agreeing that love is love, and families can come in all different shapes and sizes. But now, enter Florida. While most politicians say they're doing whatever they're doing for the kids, Governor Ron DeSantis does it to the kids, signing into law last month a ban on any discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in schools with kids before 4th grade. So if 8-year-old Susie, for example, has 2 moms in Florida, I guess she now gets to have mom and a close friend. And while many have come to know it as the Don't Say Gay bill, which seems pretty accurate to me, DeSantis has been pushing to rebrand it, calling it an anti-grooming bill, grotesquely accusing Democrats who support the LGBTQ community of being or supporting pedophiles looking to sexually groom young children.
They have to lie, because if they admitted what they were really for, sexualizing kindergartners and first graders, they know that would not fly with the public.
It's a sadistic playbook the sadistic DeSantis seems to have thought up after watching the campaign of now Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who beat out former Governor Terry McAuliffe in 2020, in great part thanks to this one key debate moment.
I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach.
About 6 months later, Youngkin signed a bill into law that gives parents the right to review any, quote, sexually explicit materials before their kids read them in school, which includes a wide range of material. And these bills are just 2 of more than 230 pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation filed across the country just this year alone, according to data from the ACLU. But while some members of the GOP are crusading for these proposals, as Washington Post White House reporter Annie Linskey writes, some party strategists worry that the initiatives may backfire with moderate voters. Annie Linskey joins me now. Before the Post, she was the lead reporter on Democrats for the Boston Globe's Washington bureau during the 2016 election. Annie, it's great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Good to see you, too.
So some in the GOP are soul-searching, I guess you should say vote-searching, because they're worried about the possible negative impact of this. What are they worried about? That this is too cruel, which it is, by the way. Is that what they're worried about?
Well, I think what they're worried about is, just the very comments you made at the open of the segment here, which is they saw how public opinion changed and how their party was left out over the marriage equality debate. That issue moved very quickly in the American public from, Americans being not comfortable with it, not knowing very much about it, to really sort of it feeling, polling showing that people on both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly support marriage equality. And so there are some Republican strategists who are looking at this current debate that is more focused around trans issues, but is still also obviously impacts gay and lesbian parents and kids, and thinking to themselves, wow, is this something that could also go the same way that marriage went, to where we are suddenly going to be staking out a position that we're going to very quickly need to walk back out of? So that's where the concern is among strategists. It's in this sort of medium term.
And who came up with this crackpot notion that if you support gay rights or trans rights, you are all of a sudden grooming who? You're a groomer if you support this, according to Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, that's sort of very new language that's coming from the right. There have been some strategists that I've talked to who said that it's a little in an effort to divide, drive a wedge between various factions within the LGBT community, that it provides an ability for more conservative, gay voters to sort of separate themselves from the larger community. I'm not sure if I believe that, but that's one way that's been described to me. But there's very clearly a change in rhetoric that even Republicans have been caught flat-footed by. I mean, I was really struck in talking to the Log Cabin Republicans. Yeah. This is a group of Republicans who support gay rights, and they were saying to me that they were utterly unprepared for this conversation this year. They had not planned on, ramping up their analysis of state legislation, because they just even Republican groups did not see this wave coming, but it certainly is coming. And, the country is in the midst of it right now. And over the next few weeks and months, you're going to see additional states take up very similar legislation.
Obviously you were writing about the concern about the political impact. Did anybody you talked to worry about the life impact on some of the most vulnerable kids in this country? Did anybody even raise that as an issue?
There are some Republicans who are doing that, particularly, the governor of Utah, when he vetoed somewhat similar legislation in his state, a Republican governor, saying that, look, this is an issue that is impacting, to your point, the very most vulnerable community. But this is a minority view among Republicans. I mean, I'm actually out here in Ohio working on a story about the Senate race. And Republicans here in this state are very eager to discuss this issue, and they feel that they know all about it, and their heart is not with the kids and the trans community. In the way this debate is being framed, Republican primary voters are very energized by it.
Well, okay, so it's fine to attack vulnerable kids. Is it okay to attack big, powerful institutions like Disney, like Ron DeSantis is doing? My assumption is that is a bridge too far. No?
Well, I think that there is a sort of divide in the Republican Party. I mean, the sort of Chamber of Commerce, more traditional Republican would say no, that is a bridge too far. And there are some donors that I've talked to and some Republicans who say, look, we do not want to be seen suddenly as the party that is against jobs, that is going to stall economic growth, which, there are some who say that could happen in Central Florida because of this decision. Jobs from Disney, already Governor Newsom from California is saying, look, you could send some of your jobs over to our state. We're not going to be, using the tax code as retribution in California the way that it's being used in Florida. But there is also another strain in the Republican Party that it does not have the same sort of respect for institutions. And there's been this alienation among Republican voters who believe less and less in institutions, and that is government, that is education, and that is also big business. I'm
so glad you quoted Ralph Reed, and I remember him when he was probably the most prominent conservative Christian voice in America, and now he's one of many. But he made a point that I was thinking about as I'm reading your piece, even though he made it better than I would have. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. If Youngkin was the jumping off point and Republicans learned this parental thing is a big one for us, instead of attacking their children, particularly the most vulnerable children, talk about school choice. Talk about, he didn't say this, I'm saying it, public funding for parochial schools or something like that that doesn't have as a target, again, these kids. Is anybody besides Ralph Reed thinking that?
Yeah, I believe, Ralph Reed, of course, sort of the strategist behind the Christian Coalition, a founder of some very influential groups on the right. He's speaking for quite a large number of other Republicans who want to see the energy and the organizing power behind this movement to for what they call, for school choice, for charter schools, and to move that energy towards a sort of fundamental change in the public education system. He is not as eager for this conversation to move into like an anti-trans and an anti-gay debate. There are, others in the party that are more comfortable with that. But what Ralph Reed is saying is that, look, this is where I believe the energy should go, and where he is directing a significant and a very influential part of the party into the direction of saying, look, the end game here should be school choice. And, he's not saying that, a debate over gay rights isn't coming. I think he does see that coming. But in this instance, he thinks that the better course for the party is to move it towards school choice.
Since you're in Ohio, make sure if you see J.D. Vance, you tell him I hated hillbilly elegy. Good to see you, Annie Linskey.
Good to see you.
Take care of yourself.